Hi, this is Trey Bain with Analytics 8. If you've spent any time with the Qlik Sense expression editor, you've likely noticed what appears to be some inconsistencies. In this video, I want to spend some time showing that most of what appears to be inconsistencies are simply misunderstandings about how the expressions are passed between QlikMaps and the Sense engine. This will help you understand how and why to format expressions in a particular way. Before we begin, there are two things that we must keep in mind through everything else that we do in the rest of this video. The first is, every expression box for a QlikMaps object is evaluated as an expression. Second, every expression box for a QlikMaps object must be returned as a string. To begin with, I'm going to create a very basic points map. Instead of using the expression editor to enter in fields, I'm going to type them in. Notice that by typing the fields in and not opening the expression editor, the map will render. Whenever you type into the field, it is rendered as a string. Something interesting happens if you open the expression editor though. Notice that by opening the expression editor, single quotes are added, even though I haven't typed them in. And if I click apply, we'll also notice that an equal sign is added to the marker dimension. Notice also that the map is still rendering. That's because whether you enclose it in single quotes and put an equal sign in front of it, or whether you type it in, it will still return as a string. Notice, however, if we click in marker latitude, for example, and put an equal sign, click off of it, that the points will disappear. That's because an equal sign doesn't make it render as a string. It tells Qlik Sense to evaluate salesman lat. What we really want is we want it to evaluate salesman lat as a string, which happens automatically when we open the expression editor. So, either putting an equal sign and single quotes, or simply typing in the field name, will both return a string. However, I highly recommend that you always use the equal sign and the single quotes, because anytime you click on the expression editor, they're going to get added anyway. Next, we'll look at how expressions are handled. By unchecking the auto color and dragging down to look at marker size, I'm going to paste a very basic scaling function into the expression box without opening the expression editor by just pasting it in. If I click elsewhere, you'll notice that the points resize. That's because marker size in the expression is being returned as a string. Now notice that if I instead open the effects button and click apply without making any other changes, all of the points render at the same size, and you'll notice they are significantly larger. If we open back up the marker size expression editor, we'll understand why. The marker expression size is based on pixel size. So here, everything is returning a pixel size of 30. Since it's returning a pixel size of 30 and not returning a string, it is rendering all of the points at 30 pixels. What we want though is we want the expression editor to pass back instead a string that can be evaluated inside of Qlik Sense instead of being evaluated here at 30 pixels and then rendering the marker at 30 pixels. So by putting single quotes around the expression, we're turning it back into a string and clicking on apply, and the points re-render. So once again, just like marker dimension, we can have an equal sign with the entire expression returned inside of single quotes, or we can remove the single quotes and the equal sign, and it will work the same. They're both returning a string. Once again, I highly recommend you use the equal sign and the single quotes, because as you're developing an application, you will often need to go back into the expression editor and make changes. And every time you open the expression editor, it's going to add the equal sign. As long as you have the single quotes, the equal sign will still render a string. One final nuance often shows up in the pop-up. So I'll click Apply and scroll to the pop-up button. I'll click on it, and I'm going to copy a simple pop-up HTML string into the expression editor. Notice that I've gone ahead and entered an equal sign here. This is because so far we have discussed that the best way to be able to enter in expressions is by putting an equal sign and single quotes. But notice that if I click Apply and then select a marker, no pop-up shows. That's because of a strange way that the Sense editor handles single quotes. Single quotes are necessary because we have text strings added in. In order to put things that are inside of single quotes, we have to do something special. I'm going to put back in my equal sign. I'm going to put a single quote and enter. I will then go to the end on line 4 and place another single quote. Now, what this is doing is saying that everything on line 2 and line 3 are a string. But notice now that even if I click Apply and have made it a string, I still do not get pop-ups. Let's go back into the expression editor. Inside of Qlik View and Qlik Sense, if you need to take a single quote and represent it as a single quote inside of a text field, you must use 2 single quotes. So I will go through this entire expression and replace every single quote with 2 single quotes. Notice it is not a double quote, but 2 single quotes. I need to put my equal sign back in on line 1 and click Apply. Now my pop-up will work. Let's go back into the expression editor and look at this one more time. Line 1 says this is going to be a string that is ended at line 4. The 2 single quotes that start and stop the bold HTML markings actually get rendered as a single quote when passed back to Qlik Sense. I hope this helps with the expression editor. If you have additional questions, please go to QlikMaps.com.